Imagine a moment caught in amber, an entire world suspended in a breath of velvet ash. This is not merely a city of stone, but an eternal memory carved into the earth, where the heat of the past has long since cooled into a quiet, bioluminescent glow beneath the soil. It is a place where time no longer flows. It simply rests, weightless and ancient, slumbering beneath the shadow of a sleeping giant. Tonight, we do not seek to uncover secrets or disturb the dust. We simply wish to dissolve into this silence. We will drift alongside the echoes of the past, floating through the stillness where there is no destination to reach, only the gentle, rhythmic journey of the night. And just as the great mountain eventually settled into its deep slumber, allow your own foundation to settle now. Feel the weight of your head sinking deeper into the pillow, becoming as solid and still as ancient stone. Allow your jaw to soften, to unhinge, releasing the tension of the day into the cool air. Your eyelids are becoming heavy velvet curtains, drawn slowly against the light, until you are safe grounded and perfectly still. Let's begin. The heavy blanket of ash settled softly over the city like falling snow. Layer upon layer of fine gray dust accumulated in a slow, hypnotic rhythm, muffling the sounds of the streets until only a profound silence remained. The sharp edges of the buildings were gently rounded by this deepening cover, softening the architecture into vague, sleeping shapes that merged with the ground. It was not a ruin, but a gradual wrapping, the preservation of the moment within a cocoon of earth and stone. Imagine watching the dust mote suspended in a deep bioluminescent blue twilight, flowing faintly as they drift down to join the vast gray ocean below. You can feel the sensation of heavy warmth radiating from the ground, a comforting weight that pulls you down into a state of total relaxation, grounding your body against the turning of the earth. It is a reminder that in the embrace of the quiet earth, you are held safe and still, protected from the passing of time. Ancient cobblestones lie cool and undisturbed beneath the immense weight of the centuries. The roads that once echoed with footsteps are now held in a vacuum of perfect stillness. The air pressing down with a dense, comforting gravity. Every crack in the pavement, every worn groove in the stone, is filled with the fine, dry silt of the ages, sealing the path in a permanent state of rest. The passage of time here is not measured in minutes, but in the slow, invisible settling of the subterranean layers. Picture yourself drifting weightless just above these silent streets, where shadows are painted in shades of indigo with deep velvet black. You feel the cool, dry air settling against your skin, a physical quietness that slows your breathing to match the eternal patience of the buried city. It is a gentle reminder that true rest is heavy and deep, a foundation that supports you when you simply let go. The walls of the atrium stand rigid and unmoving in the subterranean dark. Frescoes of green ochre are hidden in the shadows, their colors preserved by the absence of light, waiting in a suspended state of grace. The air inside this chamber is thick and still, untouched by the wind, creating a sanctuary where nothing ever changes and nothing is ever lost. Dust hangs motionless in the void, caught in the grip of a silence so profound it feels like a soft pressure against the ears. Imagine a faint bioluminescent glow seeping through the cracks in the ceiling, casting long, slow-moving shadows that stretch across the mosaic floor like liquid water. You feel a sensation of floating within this enclosed space, sheltered by the thick stone walls that block out the noise of the world above. This reminds us that within the deepest silence, there is a vast and welcoming space where the mind can finally dissolve into sleep. High, heavy darkness presses gently against the rooftops, sealing the city in amber. The weight of the volcanic earth acts as a shield, a vast and invisible barrier that keeps the noise of history at bay. Underneath this immense pressure, the structures do not crumble. They settle, becoming one with the geology, rooted deep in the crust of the planet. The atmosphere is dense and ancient, carrying the scent of dry stone in the coolness of the underground. Picture the layers of earth above you as a protected blanket, miles deep, glowing with veins of soft electric blue minerals that hum with a quiet energy. You feel the comforting heaviness of your own limbs, sinking deeper into the mattress as if you too are being cradled by the solid earth. It is a reminder that there is peace in being weighed down and surrendering to the pull of gravity and the safety of the ground. Time itself is crystallized here, frozen into a single, eternal second. The movement of the world has stopped, replaced by a permanent pause where the air is solid and the light is dim. Objects sit exactly where they were placed, held in a stasis that defies the rhythm of the changing seasons outside. It is a museum of invisible breath, where the atmosphere is composed of patience and long drawn-out waiting. Imagine a vast, cavernous space illuminated by a distant, aquatic blue light, revealing the silent shapes of cones and arches rising from the darkness. You feel a wash of cool tranquility flowing over you, a sensation of time dissolving until there is only the present moment, stretching out forever in all directions. It is a gentle reminder that in this deep and quiet place, there is nothing left to achieve, only the permission to rest in the stillness. The stone steps of the amphitheater hold the temperature of the deep earth. Curved rows of gray rock stretch out in a perfect, silent circle, creating a vast bowl that catches nothing but the stillness of the air. The shouts and echoes of the past have been absorbed completely by the porous stone, leaving behind a vacuum where sound simply ceases to exist. Moss and tiny lichens move slowly into the cracks, a microscopic movement that marks the passage of centuries in a world without clocks. The heavy architecture sits rooted and immovable, a testament to the permanence of the ground beneath it. Imagine standing in the center of this vast hollow space, surrounded by a soft, bioluminescent blue mist that clings to the tiers of seats. You feel the cool, solid presence of the stone radiating against your back, a heavy stability that anchors you firmly in the present moment. It is a reminder that you are supported by forces much larger and older than yourself, allowing you to rest without effort. Roots of ancient trees are preserved as hollow spaces in the compacted soil. Where living wood once grew, there is now only a perfect negative shape carved into the hard ash, a memory of form held within the earth. These voids are dark and quiet, insulated by feet of solid rock from the noise of the surface world, creating a network of silence that runs deep underground. The surrounding earth is cool and dead, pressing in on these empty spaces with a gentle, persistent weight that holds the structure together. Darkness here is not empty. It is a physical substance, thick and velvety, filling every curve of the subterranean mold. Picture a faint, glowing network of veins running through the pitch-black soil, pulsing with a slow, rhythmic light like a heartbeat. You feel a sense of profound emptiness and relief, as if your own thoughts are dissolving into the comfortable dark of the earth. It is a gentle reminder that in the absence of activity, there is a deep and restoring peace. Massive millstones stand motionless in the courtyards of the silent bakeries. These heavy cones of volcanic rock, once turned by endless labor, are now frozen in a state of eternal pause. Their rough surface is smoothed by the dust of 2,000 years. The friction of the world has stopped, replaced by a heavy, suspended gravity that keeps every object perfectly still. Shadows pool around the base of the stones, thick and viscous like dark water, undisturbed by any wind or breath. The air is stagnant and preserved, holding the dry scent of stone and time in a delicate balance. Imagine the scene bathed in a deep underwater twilight, where the edges of the heavy stones blur into the surrounding darkness. You feel the sensation of a great weight being lifted from your shoulders, mirroring the stillness of the millstones that no longer need to turn. This reminds us that there is a time for all work to cease, and a time to simply exist in the quiet. Long corridors stretch into the distance, leading to rooms that no longer have doors, The passage is lined with walls of cool plaster, their colors faded to soft washes of terracotta and pale yellow by the dim light. Silence flows through these hallways like a slow-moving river, carrying with it the fine, gray silk that coats the floor in a soft, soundless carpet. The perspective is endless and calm, a tunnel of quietude that narrows into the dark, inviting the eye to rest on the vanishing point. There is no urgency here, only the patient waiting of the architecture, standing firm against the pressure of the burying earth. Picture yourself gliding slowly down this corridor, weightless and free, surrounded by a soft, glowing bioluminescence that emanates from the walls themselves. You feel the cool air brushing past your face, a gentle current that guides you deeper into the heart of the sleep. It is a reminder that the path to rest is open and waiting, requiring only your willingness to drift. The dry basins of the fountains remain open to the heavy, gray sky. Where water once splashed, there is now only the smooth curve of marble and the accumulation of soft, white ash. The stone lips of the basins are cool to the touch, retaining a memory of fluidity that has long since evaporated into the dry air. Silence fills the basin like a heavy liquid, rising to the brim and spilling over into the quiet streets, submersing the city in a flood of stillness. The shapes around it smooth, devoid of sharp angles, inviting the gaze to slide effortlessly over their surfaces. Imagine a single drop of glowing blue light falling in slow motion into the center of the dark basin, sending silent ripples of light outward across the stone. You feel a wash of cool relaxation spreading through your body, mimicking the slow, rhythmic expansion of the ripples. It is a gentle reminder that your mind can be as smooth and still as a pool of deep water, undisturbed by the wind. The mosaic floor lies hidden beneath a layer of protective dust. Thousands of tiny, colored tesserae are locked together in a rigid embrace, forming patterns of black and white that have not seen the sun in ages. The geometric shapes are precise and cool, a grid of order in the complex geology of the underground. Each small stone is cold and hard, conducting the chill of the earth deep into the foundation of the house. The air above the floor is heavy and still, pressing down with a blanket of invisible weight that keeps the tiles perfectly flat. Picture the pattern glowing faintly in the dark, a lattice of soft indigo light that hums with a low, resonant vibration. You feel the solid, unyielding support of the ground beneath you, a flattened, stable surface that will never shift or fall away. This reminds us that beneath the fluctuations of the day, there's a solid foundation where you can lay your burdens down. The boundary of the city is marked by the heavy, towering city walls. Constructed of massive blocks of dark stone, they stand as a barrier between the sleeping city and the rest of the world, holding back the tide of time. The mortar between the stones is hard and crystallized, sealing the gaps against the intrusion of noise and light. Within these walls, the atmosphere is contained and pressurized, a capsule of pure silence that has been distilled over millennia. The weight of the stone is immense, a physical manifestation of protection and enclosure. Imagine looking up at these walls from below, seeing them rise into a sky of deep, starless black rimmed with a faint auroral glow. You feel a profound sense of enclosure and safety, knowing that nothing can breach the heavy fortifications of your rest. It is a reminder that you are safe within the fortress of sleep, guarded by the silent and enduring strength of the night. The vaulted ceiling of the bathish holds a silence deeper than the ocean. Curved ribs of stucco stretch across the expanse, guiding the eye in a slow, rhythmic arc towards a circular opening at the very top. The air here is trapped and motionless, a heavy pocket of coolness that has settled into the hollows of the room. The walls are thick and hollow, designed to hold heat but now holding only the weight of the surrounding earth, creating a sensation of absolute insulation. Every sound is dampened instantly by the density of the stone, leaving a quiet so pure it feels like a soft pressure against the skin. Imagine drifting upward towards the oculus, where a faint bioluminescent mist swirls in the opening, glowing with a soft, aquatic blue. You feel the sensation of being suspended in a heavy, comforting vapor, weightless and warm within the stone sanctuary of the building. It is a reminder that within this enclosed space, you are completely shielded from the outside world, allowing you to float in perfect safety. Rows of clay vessels stand shoulder to shoulder in the dark. These heavy amphorae are grounded firmly on the earth, their rounded bellies touching in a silent, supportive communion that has lasted for centuries. The Terataka is cool and rough to the touch, its pores filled with the microscopic dust of the ages, sealing the darkness inside each jar. There is a sense of fullness here, a heavy, dormant potential stored within the clay walls, waiting patiently in the gloom. The spaces between the jars are filled with deep, velvet shadows that do not move, anchoring the room in a permanent state of rest. Picture the interiors of the vessels filled not with wine, but with a thick, glowing amber liquid that emits a slow, rhythmic pulse of light. You feel the heavy satisfaction of gravity pulling you down, settling you into place just like the ancient clay. It is a gentle reminder that it is safe to be heavy and still, to occupy your space and simply exist without movement. White cones rise like pillars from the heavy gray earth. Standing in perfect, geometric order, they mark the perimeter of a garden that no longer grows, creating a rhythmic boundary of light and shadow. The fluted grooves of the marble catch the fine ash, creating vertical lines of texture that draw the eye down to the solid base. The space between the cones is open and airy, yet filled with the invisible weight of the silence that presses in from all sides. Shadows here are long and static, stretching across the ground like dark pools of water that have frozen in time. Imagine walking through this colonnade where the air is tinted with a deep bioluminescent indigo, and the columns glow with an inner, pale light. You feel a sense of structural peace, a knowledge that the roof is held up by strength that does not falter. This reminds us that you are supported by a framework of deep rest, allowing you to lean back and let go of all effort. Beneath the street lies a silent network of cold lead. Buried deep under the paving stones, the heady pipes from a hidden circulatory system that once carried water but now carries only the quiet. The metal is thick and dull, preserved in the cool, heavy embrace of the subsoil, unaffected by the changing seasons above. It is a dark and narrow world of tunnels where the air is dense and metallic, conducting the chill of the earth with perfect efficiency. The flow has stopped completely, replaced by a solid, unmoving presence that runs like a vein of stillness through the city. Picture the pipes glowing with a faint, electric blue energy, tracing a map of relaxation deep beneath the surface of your mind. You feel the cool, heavy sensation of the metal grounding you, drawing excess energy down into the earth to be neutralized. It is a reminder that the rushing of the day has ceased, and now there is only the solid, silent infrastructure of sleep. The brick arch of the oven is cold and empty. Constructed to hold intense heat, it now cradles a profound and heavy darkness, a small cave of silence within the larger room. The bricks are rough and black and arranged in a perfect curve that shelters the void inside from the weight of the ash above. Time moves slower in this small, enclosed space, protected by the thermal mass of the stone that surrounds it. The air inside is stagnant and dry, a preserved pocket of atmosphere that has not circulated for 2,000 years. Imagine a soft, glowing bed of embers resting in the back of the oven, not burning, but radiating a deep, bioluminescent, orange warmth that defies the cold. You feel a sensation of thermal comfort spreading through your chest, a heavy, radiating heat that softens every muscle. It is a gentle reminder that at the center of the dark, there is a warm and protected place where you can retreat and rest. Tiny statues watch over the silent house from their niche. In the small, shadow-filled shrine, the miniature figures stand frozen in a permanent vigil, their painted eyes fixed on the empty room. The dust has settled softly on their shoulders, clothing them in a gray mantle of time that blurs their features into soft, vague shapes. The domestic silence is thick here, a private quiet that wraps around the altar like a heavy curtain, separating it from the rest of the world. There's a sense of microscopic attention, a focus on the small end, the still that slows the heartbeat. Picture the shrine illuminated by a single, floating sphere of soft white light, casting gentle, moving shadows that dance slowly across the wall. You feel a sense of being watched over by benevolent, silent guardians who require nothing from you but your rest. This reminds us that you are not alone in the dark, but protected by the invisible, unancient forces of peace. A single slab of stone marks the entrance to the quiet. The heavy rectangular block of the threshold is worn smooth by the passage of countless feet, a testament to the friction of a life that is now paused. It lies flat and solid against the earth, a distinct line between the public street and the private sanctuary of the interior. The stone is cool and unyielding, a grounding point that absorbs the vibrations of the air and neutralizes them into stillness. Dust gathers in the corners where the stone meets the wall, softening the angles and blurring the transition between outside and in. Imagine stepping across this line and seeing the world behind you dissolve into a mist of soft, bioluminescent particles, leaving only the sanctuary ahead. You feel the heavy, decisive closing of a door in your mind, shutting out the noise and sealing you in. It is a reminder that you have crossed the threshold into the night, and now there is nothing left to do but sleep. Large stepping stones rise like islands from the dry riverbed of the street. These massive blocks of gray lava rock are raised above the pavement, designed to keep feet dry, but now they serve only to bridge the silence. The gaps between them are filled with the fine, soft silt of the volcanic covering, creating a smooth and uniform surface that muffles every vibration. They stand heavy and immovable, their edges rounded by the erosion of 1,000 ancient footsteps that have long since faded away. The traffic of the world has been suspended, leaving these stones to hold their position in a vacuum of perfect stillness. Imagine a slow, bioluminescent current flowing silently around the base of these stones, casting a pale blue light on the rough texture of the rock. You feel the sensation of stepping effortlessly across them, floating just above the ground, supported by the solid certainty of the path. It is a reminder that the obstacles of the journey have been smoothed over, leaving only a clear and quiet way to rest. Deep red pigment is locked forever within the cool plaster of the walls. The color is intense and earthly, a cinnabar shade that has been preserved in the pitch black of the buried room, untouched by the bleaching power of the sun. The walls themselves are thickened and closing, wrapping the space in a layer of thermal mass that maintains a constant, cool temperature. Silence seems to radiate from the painted surfaces, absorbing the noise of the mind into the depth of the red fume. It is a visual silence, a saturation of color that remains heavy and constant while the world outside changes. Picture the walls pulsing with a slow, rhythmic warmth, the red hue glowing faintly like the embers of a fading fire in a dark cave. You feel a sense of being wrapped in a heavy, velvet cloak of color, sheltered from the cold emptiness of the void. This reminds us that within the shelter of your own mind, you are held in a warm and vibrant suspension, what is transformed into stone within the heat of the earth. The heavy shutters that once swung open to the breeze are now carbonized and fixed in place, turned into black charcoal that absorbs all light. They are brittle yet incredibly distinct, the grain of the ancient timber preserved perfectly in the darkness, a fossilized memory of the forest. This transformation has sealed the window forever, creating a permanent barrier against the morning and the noise of the day. The air around these black forms is dry and settled, held at a static equilibrium that denies the passage of time. Imagine the texture of the charcoal catching a drift of bioluminescent dust, sparkling like a microscopic galaxy against the deep black void. You feel the comforting finality of the closed shutter, the knowledge that the outside world can no longer intrude upon your privacy. It is a gentle reminder that you have permission to close yourself off, to become solid and still in the safety of the night. The bronze mechanism of the lock is fused into a single piece. Complex gears and tumblers, once oiled and moving, have corroded together into a solid lump of green tinted metal, ensuring that the door can never be opened again. It acts as an eternal seal, a guarantee of privacy that is held firm against the pressure of centuries. The metal is cold to the touch, conducting the chill of the underground deep into the wood of the door, anchoring the entrance in a state of permanent closure. There is no key that fits here anymore. The time for opening and closing has passed, replaced by the simple fact of being shut. Picture a soft, emerald light emanating from the patina of the bronze, a cool and soothing glow that signifies absolute security. You feel a heavy sense of relief knowing that the boundaries are set and unmoving, requiring no effort to maintain. It is a reminder that you are safely locked away from the demands of the world, protected by the heavy seal of sleep. A square of open earth lies dormant in the center of the peristyle. This internal garden, once green, is now a flat expanse of gray ash, enclosed by the rhythmic columns of the walkway. The soil beneath the ash is compacted and rich, holding the memory of roots in a deep, subterranean sleep. The geometry of the house frames this empty space, creating a window to the immense weight of the earth above, a direct line to the geology that covers the sea. The silence here is agricultural and slow, the patience of a field lying fallow through a winter that lasts forever. Imagine ghostly, bioluminescent vines slowly unfurling from the gray soil, twisting upwards in silence to weave a canopy of soft light above you. You feel the grounding energy of the dirt, a heavy, magnetic pull that draws your attention down into the ground to be composted. This reminds us that there is a time to stop growing, a time to lie fallow and simply accept the nourishment of rest. Circular holes are cut deep into the cold marble counter. In the silent shop, these heavy stone surfaces remain polished and smooth, the clay jars recessed within them holding only cool air and darkness. The marble is thick and substantial, a slab of mountain rock that has been tamed and smoothed, now resting under a blanket of dust. The bustle of commerce has evaporated, leaving behind a heavy atmosphere of finished business, where no transactions ever take place. The vessels are empty of grain and oil, filled instead with the thick, viscous silence of the underground. Picture the circular openings filled with a pooling liquid light, a deep indigo substance that stays perfectly flat and still. You feel the cool, hard surface of the counter against your palms, a sensory anchor that stabilizes your drifting thoughts. It is a gentle reminder that time for exchange and activity is over, and now there is only the stillness of the empty vessel. History is written in the heavy, horizontal bands of the ash. Looking at the cross-section of the earth, one can see the layers of time stacked like heavy blankets, one on top of the other. Coarse white pumice, fine gray dust, and dense rocky soil form a stratigraphy of silence, pressing down with immense pressure. Each layer represents a phase of settling, a gradual compression that squeezes out the air and the noise, leaving only the solid rock. The weight is uniform and comforting, a hugging pressure that holds the city together in its fossilized state. Imagine these layers as soft, heavy quilts of varying shades of gray and blue, piled high above your sleeping form. You feel the immense, protective weight of the planet resting upon you, pressing you deeper into the mattress and into the unconscious. It is a reminder that you are covered by the vastness of time, tucked in by the earth itself, safe and hidden from the waking world. The hollow space within the ash retains the perfect memory of a form. Where a living being once rested, there is now a permanent vacuum, a negative shape sculpted by the hardening of the volcanic mud. The surrounding earth has calcified into a rigid shell, preserving the exact curve of a shoulder and the bend of a knee in a capsule of eternal silence. It is a sculpture made of nothing but darkness and air, hidden deep within the gray strata of the ground. The pressure of the earth pushes in from all sides, but the void remains strong, holding its shape against the weight of the centuries. Imagine this hollow space filled with a soft, liquid bioluminescence, a glowing blue silhouette sleeping peacefully within the rock. You feel a sense of perfect containment, as if your own body is being cradled by the solid, supportive matter of the universe. It is a reminder that even in emptiness, there is a shape and a place that belongs only to you. A heavy chain of iron lies coiled like a serpent on the stone floor. The metal links have fused together over time, transformed by rust into a single, solid mass that can no longer be unraveled. It is an object of pure weight, sinking low into the dust, anchored to the ground by its own density and the slow pull of gravity. The cold of the metal has seeped into the stones beneath it, creating a localized point of absolute stillness where temperature and movement cease. The surface is rough and pitted, telling the story of a slow oxidation that happens in the quiet dark. Picture the iron links glowing with a deep ember red heat, radiating a heavy warmth that presses down on your limbs. You feel the comforting sensation of being tethered to the earth, secure and unable to drift away into the disorder. This reminds us that there is safety in being heavy, in being bound to the moment and the place where you rest. Beneath the mosaic floor lies a secret labyrinth of empty space. Small pillars of stacked tiles stand in the darkness, holding up the heavy pavement and creating a hollow chamber where warm air once circulated. This subterranean world is dry and dusty, a hidden layer of silence that runs at the very feet of the house. The tiles are warm and brittle, preserved in the stagnant air that has been sealed off from the cooling wind of the surface. It is a foundation of voids, a network of breath held deep underground. Imagine a gentle, rhythmic pulse of orange light flowing through these channels, heating a floor from below with a slow bioluminescent glow. You feel a rising sensation of warmth seeping into your back, a thermal comfort that originates from the deep core of the building. It is a gentle reminder that you are supported by hidden structures, and that warmth can be found even in the deepest places. The mouth of the cistern is a dark eye staring up at the buried sky. Carved deep into the bedrock, the shaft descends into a cool, echoing blackness where the air is heavy with moisture. The stone rim is worn, smooth, a circle of order framing the infinite depth below. Down in the dark, the water table has receded, leaving behind a vast, hollow chamber that amplifies the silence of the earth. The walls are slick and cool, sweating with the condensation of 2,000 years. Picture dropping a single, glowing pebble into the void and watching it fall in slow motion, trailing a streak of blue light until it disappears into the depths. You feel the vast capacity of this deep space, a room within the earth that can absorb any noise or worry. It is a reminder that deep within, there is a reservoir of quiet that is always waiting to receive you. Millions of small, gray stones have interlocked to form a seamless blanket. The pumice is light and porous, filled with tiny bubbles of air that were wrapped when the rock was liquid heat. Now they are cold and solid, piled meter upon meter in a complex but stable arrangement that covers everything. The texture is rough and dry, a vast ocean of gravel that absorbs sound and vibration instantly. There is no flat surface here, only the endless, rolling dunes of gray stone that have filled every alley and courtyard. Imagine sinking slowly into the soft, shifting mass, the stones parting gently to accept your weight and then closing over to cover you. You feel a sensation of being insulated, unpadded, protected from the sharp edges of the world by a thick layer of softness. This reminds us that you can be buried in comfort, hidden away under a blanket that softens every impact. A rectangular tank of lead sits heavily in the attic space. The male sides are dull and gray, oxidized to a soft, matte finish that reflects no light. It is a container of shadows, a heavy basin that once held the weight of water but now holds the weight of the silence. The lead is soft and malleable, yet it has held its shape against the immense pressure of the roof, a silent testament to endurance. The air inside the tank is distinct from the room, a pocket of cool, metallic stillness that has settled at the bottom, Picture the tank filled with a thick, viscous purple liquid that glows faintly, rippling in slow motion without making a sound. You feel the heavy, settling nature of the lead transferring to your own body, making your eyelids feel pleasant and weighted. It is a gentle reminder that your mind can be a vessel for stillness, holding on to peace without letting it leak away. A massive beam of limestone spans the top of the doorway. It bears the immense load of the wall above it, a horizontal line of strength that has not bowed in 20 centuries. The stone is pitted and weathered, its surface mapped with the tiny cracks of age, yet it remains perfectly rigid. Dust has settled on the upper ledge, softening the connection between the beam and the masonry, knitting the structure together into a single, fossilized unit. The darkness under the lintel is absolute, a shadow that invites you to pass through into the deeper quiet of the interior. Imagine the stone glowing with an internal, structural blue light, visualizing the lines of force and gravity being safely channeled around you. You feel a profound sense of relief, knowing that the weight of the roof is being carried by something other than yourself. It is a reminder that you do not need to hold everything up. You can walk through the door and simply rest. Layers of smooth plaster coat the walls in a cool, unbroken skin. The surface is polished and hard, cool to the touch like marble, sealing the rough stone masonry beneath a veneer of calm. Over the centuries, the plaster has absorbed the temperature of the deep earth, radiating a constant, soothing chill that stabilizes the air in the room. There are no cracks here to let the noise in, only a continuous, sweeping curve of white and pale ochre that guides the eye into a restful blur. The atmosphere is dense and heavy, pressing against the walls with a soft, uniform pressure that holds the structure together. Imagine the wall glowing with a faint, pearlescent shimmer reflecting a slow, underwater light that ripples across the room. You feel a sensation of mental smoothness, as if the busy thoughts in your mind are being plastered over, leaving only a clean, blank surface. It is a reminder that you can smooth away the rough edges of the day, leaving behind only peace. Heavy terracotta tiles overlap like the scales of a sleeping giant. Stacked high on the roof, they form a dense, interlocking shield that blocks out the sky and the weather. The clay is thick and fired hard, weighted down further by the blanket of gray ash that nestles into every groove. This double layer of protection creates a heavy lid for the house, pressing down with a comforting gravity that ensures nothing can lift or shift. The silence beneath this roof is absolute, a dark and protected space where the air is still and safe. Picture the grid of tiles glowing with a soft, warm amber light, a heavy geometric pattern that hovers protectively over your head. You feel the immense, sheltering weight of the roof settling over you, closing you in a warm and secure embrace. It is a gentle reminder that you are covered and shielded, and under this heavy protection, you are free to let go. Leaves of the garden have turned to stone in the quiet dark. Where green plants once rustled in the wind, there are now black, carbonized shapes that stand perfectly still in the vacuum. The delicate veins of the leaves are preserved in the charcoal, frozen in a moment of eternal stillness that defies the cycle of change. There is no breeze to move them, no sun to make them grow. They simply exist, suspended in the heavy, gray medium of the ash. The air around them is dry and preserved, holding the silence of a forest that has gone to sleep. Imagine a mist of soft, bioluminescent blue drifting through the black foliage, outlining the shape of every motionless leaf. You feel a sense of natural pause, a deep winter sleep that has settled over the organic world. This reminds us that nature itself rests, and there is a time for your own growth to cease so you can simply be. A small glass vessel holds a century of darkness inside its curve. The blue-green glass is thick and clouded by time, buried deep within the soft soil where it remains unbroken. It sits heavy in the earth, a fragile bubble of space that the immense weight of the ground has respected and preserved. The air inside the bottle is the oldest air in the world, a microscopic sample of silent stoppered tight against the changes of history. Light distorts through the irregular glass, bending and slowing down until it stops completely in the center. Picture the vessel filled with a glowing, viscous liquid that shines with the color of deep sea water, pulsing slowly in the dark. You feel a sense of being held gently but firmly, just as the earth cradles the glass. It is a reminder that you are fragile yet protected, and that within you there is a space of quiet that remains untouched. Ice stone bench sits empty against the warm wall of the bathhouse. Carved from a single block of heavy travertine, it offers a solid, unmoving place to rest within the humid silence. The stone is worn smooth by the relaxation of those who came before, its surface shaped to accept the weight of a weary body. It retains a low, thermal mass radiating a gentle heat that has been stored in the rock for millennia. The air above the bench is thick with invisible steam, creating a heavy, muffling blanket that dampens every sound. Imagine sinking slowly into the stone, which feels not hard, but yielding and warm like sinking into dense, sun-warmed sand. You feel the tension draining out of your legs and back, absorbed by the heavy permanence of the sea. It is a gentle reminder that the world offers you places to stop, to sit down, and to let the heavy stone carry your burden for a while. Heavy iron bars divide the light from the darkened window. The metal grate is thick and rusted, fused into the stone frame to create an immovable barrier between the inside and the outside. It is a filter for the silence, allowing only the quietest air to pass through while keeping the noise and the disorder at bay. The rust has roughened the surface, giving it a texture of deep time, a sensation of endurance that has outlasted the city itself. Shadows cling to the bars, wrapping them in velvet softness that blurs the hard edges of the iron. Picture the grid of the grate glowing with a soft, protected neon blue, a lattice of light that stands guard over your rest. You feel a sense of security knowing that the perimeter is sealed, and nothing can cross the threshold without your permission. This reminds us that you are safe behind the heavy fortifications of your own peace. A single mote of dust floats, suspended in the breathless void. It hangs perfectly still in the center of the dark room, unaffected by gravity or wind, a microscopic moon in a universe of silence. The air is so thick and stagnant that it holds the particle in place, freezing time in a physical way. Around it, the heavy shapes of the furniture and the walls recede into the gloom, leaving a single point of focus. It represents the ultimate cessation of movement, a world where even the smallest things have stopped rushing. Imagine this speck of dust shining with a brilliant star-like white light, illuminating the vast emptiness of the space around it. You feel a sensation of total weightlessness, as if you too have become lightened or drifting in the comforting suspension of the dark. It is a gentle reminder that you can let go of gravity, detach from the heavy world, and simply float in the quiet. The painted garden blooms in the eternal darkness of the wall. On the smooth plaster surface, delicate branches and green leaves are captured in a state of suspended growth, unaffected by the lack of sun or rain. The sea is wrapped in a heavy, underground silence that preserves the illusion of nature while removing all movement and noise. Birds sit perched on painted twigs, their songs silenced by the weight of the earth, waiting patiently in the cool, dry air. It is a forest of stillness where the wind never blows and the leaves never fall, creating a sanctuary of permanent summer deep beneath the ground. Imagine the painted foliage glowing with a soft, bioluminescent green light, casting a gentle, organic radiance into the black room. You feel the soothing sensation of being surrounded by a nature that demands nothing from you, a quiet grove that simply exists. It is a gentle reminder that even in the deepest dark, there is a place where life is still and peaceful. Pyramids of heavy clay hang suspended in the air. These loom weights, once used to keep the tension on the threads of the weaver, are now pulling down against nothing but the empty space. They hang in a perfect, motionless row, subjected to the constant, gentle pull of gravity that aligns them with the center of the earth. The threads they once held have long since dissolved, leaving the weights to float in the darkness as heavy pendulums that have stopped swinging. The The clay is cool and dense, holding a concentrated mass that anchors the room in a state of equilibrium. Picture invisible threads of glowing blue light extending upwards from each weight, connecting them to the shadows of the ceiling in a grid of order. You feel the heavy, relaxing pull of gravity acting on your own body, drawing your shoulders down and releasing the tension of the day. This reminds us that you can stop holding everything together and simply let gravity do the work. The bronze lamp sits cold and extinguished on the table. Its metal surface is covered in a soft, green patina of age, a velvet texture that softens the hard lines of the spout and handle. The flame was quenched 2,000 years ago, leaving behind an darkness that is thick, restful, and absolute. The oil has dried, and the wick has turned to dust, signaling the end of all activity and the beginning of a long, uninterrupted night. It is a heavy object, grounded by its own density, resting solidly on the stone surface without a tremor. Imagine a phantom flame hovering above the nozzle, not of fire, but of cool, bioluminescent blue mist that swirls slowly in the dark. You feel a sense of deep permission to extinguish your own lights, to stop burning and to fade into the comfortable obscurity of sleep. It is a reminder that the day is over, the work is done, and it is safe to rest in the dark. Rivets of iron hold the heavy chest to the floor. The strong copse or arca is a cube of immense weight and security, reinforced with bands of metal that have rusted into a solid, impenetrable shell. It sits in the corner of the atrium, a dark anchor that has not budged since the city was buried. The wood is mineralized or vanished, leaving the iron skeleton to guard the silence inside, protecting emptiness with the same vigor it once protected gold. The atmosphere around it is pressurized and serious, a zone of safety where nothing can be taken and nothing can be lost. Picture the seams of the iron box glowing with a deep emerald light pulsing slowly with the strength of the lock. You feel a profound sense of security, knowing that your piece is locked away in a place where no one can disturb it. It is a gentle reminder that you have the strength to close yourself off and keep your rest safe. A tripod of marble claws the ground with animal feet. The table stands rigid in the gloom, its smooth, round top acting as a landing pad for the falling dust. The stone is cool to the touch, a slab of polished mountain rock that has been tamed into furniture, yet retains the chill of the quarry. Shadows pool beneath it, hiding the carved details of the lights in a soft, gray blur that merges with the floor. The surface is perfectly flat and level, a horizon line in the miniature world of the room, undisturbed by any vibration. Imagine a thin layer of liquid light pooling on the marble tabletop, a glowing indigo fluid that remains perfectly still, reflecting the ceiling like a dark mirror. You feel the stability of the stone transferring to your mind, a solid and unmoving foundation that supports you completely. This reminds us that beneath the fluctuations of thought, there is a flat and stable surface where you can rest. White vines of plaster twist across the silent ceiling. In the stucco relief, flowers and leaves are carved from the heavy material, creating a garden of stone that hangs overhead. The details are softened by the gloom, turning the intricate patterns into a texture of shadows and pale shapes that resemble a clouded sky. The plaster is thick and heavy, insulating the room from above and creating a sensation of being deep within a comfortable cave. There is no color here, only the play of white on white, a visual silence that calms the eyes and slows the mind. Picture the relief pattern glowing with a soft, milky white luminescence, like moonlight filtering through heavy clouds. You feel the protective cover of the ceiling pressing down gently, a heavy blanket of stone that shields you from the open sky. It is a reminder that you are covered and enclosed, safe to drift under the heavy canopy of sleep. The throat of the well opens into the deep earth. A high circular rim of porous lava stone guards the drop, its edge is worn smooth by the ropes of the past. Down below, the shaft descends into a pure and echoing blackness, a vertical tunnel that pierces the crust of the world. The air rising from the depths is cold and smells of whetstone and ancient minerals, a breath from the deep slumber of the planet. It is a void of absolute quiet, where even the sound of a falling pebble would be absorbed instantly by the heavy atmosphere. Imagine looking over the edge and seeing a soft, bioluminescent blue light pulsing far down in the darkness, like a heartbeat deep underground. You feel a sensation of sinking, of dropping slowly and weightlessly into the comfort of the deep earth. It is a gentle reminder that there is a place of infinite depth within you, where the surface noise can never reach. A round loaf of bread, it's perfectly preserved in the oven. The heat of the ancient earth has turned the dough into stone, baking it for an eternity in the silent dark. It rests on the brick floor, heavy and black, a permanent testament to a meal that was never eaten but forever kept. The crust is hard and textured, carbonized into a substance that absorbs the shadows and holds the cold of the underground. Air does not move here, it stagnates around the shape, wrapping it in a vacuum where change is impossible and time has no effect. The oven acts as a vault, protecting this small, round object with walls of thermal mass that have cooled to match the deep soil. Imagine the loaf glowing with a faint, warm amber light, pulsing slowly like a glowing coal in the center of the darkness. You feel a sense of fullness and heavy satisfaction, a warmth settling in your stomach as if you are completely nourished. It is a reminder that there is no hunger here, only the deep and satisfying fullness of eternal rest. A black dog is tiled permanently into the floor of the entryway. The tesserae are cold and smooth, forming the image of the guardian who never sleeps and never barks. He is chained to the spot by the artist's hand, a faithful watcher in the silent vestibule where no guests ever arrive. The dust covers him in a fine gray coat, softening the contrast between the black and white stones, lowering the greeting into a gentle, sleepy welcome. The ground is solid and unyielding beneath the mosaic, conducting the deep chill of the earth up into the air of the room. He waits in the gloom, a symbol of protection that has outlasted the house itself. Picture the tiles outlining the dog glowing with a soft, protective blue luminescence, casting a gentle watch light over the sleeping house. You feel the comfort of being guarded by a loyal presence, allowing you to lower your defenses and close your eyes. It is a gentle reminder that you are watched over by silent forces, leaving you free to drift into deep sleep. A stone-faced pours silence instead of water into the basin. The carved mouth of the fountain is dry and open, a permanent gasp frozen in the heavy gray stone. Where clear water once tumbled, there is now only the slow accumulation of dust, filling the basin with the soft debris of time. The features of the mask are worn smooth, eroded not by water but by the friction of the burying ash, turning the face into a vague and sleepy spirit. The silence is liquid here, filling the trough and spilling over the edges in a cascade of quiet that fills the street. The stone is cool to the touch, retaining the memory of the flow that has long since ceased. Imagine a stream of thick, slow-moving bioluminescent mist pouring from the mouth of the stone face, pooling on the ground like heavy, dry ice. You feel a cool sensation washing over your face, cleansing away the heat of the day and leaving only clarity. This reminds us that the flow of effort has stopped, replaced by the soothing stillness of the dry stone. Deep grooves are carved permanently into the hard lava pavement. The stone streets bear the heavy memory of wheels that rolled centuries ago, creating tracks that now lead nowhere. These ruts are smooth and deep, guiding the way through the silence like rails of negative space. The rock is gray and unyielding, cold to the touch, holding the chill of the night within its dense mineral structure. No wheels turn here now. The friction has ceased, leaving the path open and empty under the weight of the burying earth. The alignment is perfect, a straight line of rest stretching into the dark, bordered by the high sidewalks of the sleeping city. Picture the ruts filled with a flowing river of soft indigo light, guiding you effortlessly down the street without you needing to take a step. You feel the sensation of gliding along a predetermined path, supported by the deep grooves of history. It is a reminder that the path is already laid out for you, and there is nothing to do but surrender to the journey. The void of a wooden door stands solid against the wall. The wood has vanished, replaced by a casting of pure plaster that captures the green and the knots in white silence. It is a heavy slab of material that blocks the way, sealing the room in a permanent state of privacy. The texture is rough and shaggy, absorbing the moisture from the air and holding a damp, cool atmosphere around it. It stands vertical and rigid, a monument to the act of closing, of shutting out the world and turning inward towards the dark. The space it fills is solid, a barrier that cannot be breached by sound or light. Imagine the plaster door glowing with a soft, impenetrable white light, a shield that repels all noise and intrusion. You feel the heavy, decisive click of a lock turning in your mind, securing your peace for the night. It is a gentle reminder that you have the right to close the door on the world and exist solely within your own rest. A marble dial marks a time that never changes. The gnomon casts a permanent shadow across the curved face of the stone, fixed forever by the darkness of the burial. No sun moves across the sky to shift the angle. The shadow is painted onto the marble by the heavy blanket of ash. The stone is cold and pale, a white crescent in the gloom that measures eternity instead of hours. Time is dissolved into a single, infinite moment where the numbers no longer matter and the schedule is erased. The silence here is mathematical and precise, a stillness that is measured in centuries rather than seconds. Picture the shadow on the dial lengthening until it covers the whole stone in a soft, velvet darkness that feels like a heavy blanket. You feel the pressure of time lifting from your shoulders, dissolved by the absence of the sun. This reminds us that in this deep sleep, there are no schedules to keep, only the vast and open present. A dark tunnel leads deep beneath the stone seated. The arched corridor is heavy with the scent of damp earth and old stone, curving out of sight into the gloom. It slopes downward, pulling the body toward the center of the earth with a gentle, magnetic gravity. The walls are made of a diamond pattern of small stones that hypnotizes the eye in the dim light, creating a rhythm of texture. Silence echoes here, bouncing softly off the curved ceiling, unsettling into the thick dust on the floor. It is a passage to the deep earth, a safe and enclosed above quiet that shelters you from the open sky. Imagine the tunnel illuminated by a series of faint, blue floor lights that pulse in time with your slow breathing. You feel a sensation of descending into a cool, protected depth, leaving the surface world far behind. It is a reminder that you are going deeper now, down into the safe and heavy foundations of your sleep. A woven basket of fruit has turned to solid charcoal. The organic curves of the figs and nuts are preserved perfectly in the black carbon, frozen in a moment of ripeness that will never fade. They sit heavy in the bowl, their skins hardened into a shell that holds the silence of the room inside. The weaving of the basket is distinct and brittle, the texture of ancient labor that has stopped completely in the vacuum of the earth. Air does not circulate around these forms, it settles heavily, pressing the objects down into the table with a gentle, invisible hand. The blackness of the charcoal is absolute, absorbing every photon of light and returning only a deep, mad quiet. Imagine a soft, amber glow emanating from the center of the dark fruit, a warm and nourishing light that pulses slowly like a heartbeat. You feel a heavy sense of harvest and completion, a knowledge that the gathering is done and the storehouse is full. It is a gentle reminder that you have enough, you have done enough, and now you can simply rest. Cylinders of papers are fused together in a solid block. The knowledge written on the scrolls is locked away forever, turned into black carbon that crumbles at the touch. They lie stacked on the shelf, a library of silence where no words are ever spoken and no pages are ever turned. The scrollwork is tight and dense, holding the secrets of the past in a heavy, cylindrical embrace that resists the passage of time. Dust has filled the gaps between the rolls, cementing them into a single, heavy unit of wisdom that rests quietly in the dark. The intellectual effort of the world has ceased, replaced by the physical weight of the preserved object. Picture the scrolls glowing with a faint, bioluminescent indigo light, lines of invisible text dissolving into the air like smoke. You feel the heavy burden of needing to know lifting from your mind, leaving only a blank and peaceful slate. This reminds us that there is no need to understand everything, only a need to close your eyes and drift. The polished face of the bronze mirror reflects only the dark. Lying face up on the table, the metal disc is tarnished over the centuries, developing a deep green skin that masks its original shine. It is a pool of solid metal, cool to the touch and heavy with the density of the alloy. The reflection of the world has been wiped away, leaving behind on its surface that absorbs the silence of the room. There is no vanity here, no movement, only the stillness of an object that has forgotten its purpose. The edge of the mirror is beaten in detail with a tactile rim that borders the infinite emptiness of the center. Imagine the surface of the bronze liquefying into a deep, dark pool of blue water, ripples spreading slowly from the center to the edge. You feel your own image dissolving into the cool, dark water, washing away identity and leaving only pure existence. It is a reminder that you can stop looking at yourself and simply be, hidden and safe in the dark. Leaves of marble curl silently around the top of the cup. The stone foliage is carved deep, creating shadows that nestle into the curves of the acanth's leaves, hiding from the light. The capital bears the immense weight of the roof without trembling, a structural strength that has endured for 2,000 years. Dust has settled into the veins of the stone leaves, softening the sharp edges and blurring the distinction between the plant and the pillar. It is a garden that never needs water, a frozen growth that stands rigid in the heavy air of the buried city. The white stone is cool and dense, radiating a sense of permanence and unmoving support. Picture the marble leaves glowing with a soft, organic green light, wrapping the pillar in a vine of bioluminescence. You feel the solid, unshakable support of the bed beneath you, holding you up just as the column holds the roof. It is a gentle reminder that you are supported by strong and ancient forces, allowing you to completely let go. A small silver spoon lies half buried in the gray ash. The metal has tarnished to a deep, majestic black, camouflaged against the dark earth that cradles it. It is a delicate object shaped to fit the hand, but now it holds only a small amount of silence in its bowl. The silver is cold and conductive, drawing the heat out of the air and grounding it into the floor. It rests at an angle, caught in the flow of the burial, a tiny monument to the cessation of hunger at the end of the meal. The surrounding dust is soft and fine, holding the spoon in a gentle, powdery grip that prevents it from ever moving. Imagine the spoon filled with a single drop of liquid moonlight, a heavy, white globule that glows intensely in the gloom. You feel a sensation of cool satisfaction, a metallic stillness that tastes like rest. This reminds us that the feast is over, the table is cleared, and there is nothing left to consume but the quiet. The heavy bronze helmet sits empty on the wooden shelf. The eye holes are a dark void staring out into the silent barracks, seeing nothing but the passage of eternal time. The metal is thick and scarred, bearing the weight of a protection that is no longer needed. It sits squarely on its base, a dome shape that creates a small, hollow cave of darkness inside. The crest is bent and still, and the cheek guards are closed, sealing the interior in a permanent state of readiness that will never be tested. Gravity pulls heavily on the dense bronze, anchoring it to the wood, making it part of the stillness of the room. Picture the inside of the helmet filled with a soft, protective blue fog, a cushion of light that waits to cradle the mind. You feel the heavy armor of your own defenses falling away, realizing you no longer need to struggle or protect. It is a reminder that the effort is finished, the armor is laid down, and you are safe to sleep without a guard. A folded cloth has mineralized into a heavy block of stone. The weave of the wool is still visible, a grid of texture that has been replaced molecule by molecule with the minerals of the earth. It lies on the chest, a blanket that can no longer be unfolded, its softness transformed into the rigid durability of rock. The folds are soft and rounded, mimicking the drape of fabric, but the object is now immovable and dense. It holds the shape of comfort but possesses the temperature of the deep underground. The air around it is still and dry, preserving the illusion of softness in a world of hard edges. Imagine the mineralized threads glowing with a soft, warm amber light, weaving a net of relaxation that covers the room. You feel the heavy, comforting weight of your own blankets pressing down on you, turning you into stone stillness. It is a gentle reminder that you are wrapped in the heavy, permanent fabric of the night, warm and secure. A heavy band of gold rests in the eternal dust. The metal is cold and dense, a serpentine shape that coils around nothing but the silence of the room. It lies half buried in the soft gray ash, its luster dimmed by the centuries of darkness, yet its weight remains constant and undeniable. The gold has absorbed the temperature of the deep earth, becoming a grounding point in the shifting sea of volcanic powder. There is no pulse beneath it now, only the steady, unmoving rhythm of the geological strata that presses down from above. The object is timeless, released from the need to adorn or impress, simply existing as a heavy element in the dark. Imagine the gold glowing with a deep, molten amber light, radiating a heavy warmth that circles your own wrist. You feel a sensation of pleasant heaviness in your limbs, as if gravity is gently pulling you down into the mattress. It is a gentle reminder that value was found in stillness, and you are free to simply lie there and be heavy. Stonefish swim forever in a sea of dry mortar. On the floor of the bathish, a mosaic of marine life is locked in a permanent, silent glide beneath the dust. The small, colored stones are cool and smooth, forming the shapes of dolphins and squid that will never reach the surface. They are submerged not in water but in the heavy, pressurized atmosphere of the underground, preserved in a medium of absolute quiet. The blue and green tesserae catch the faint shadows, suggesting a depth that goes down for miles into the crust of the planet. The movement is frozen, a snapshot of the ocean floor held in stasis by the weight of the city. Picture the floor turning into a deep, bioluminescent pool of indigo water, where the stone fish begin to drift in slow motion. You feel the weightless sensation of floating in the deep, supported entirely by the heavy water around you. This reminds us that you can drift without effort, carried by the deep currents of sleep. The small sleeping room is designed for nothing but shadow. It is a narrow chamber, a cubiculum carved out of the darkness, where the walls are close and the ceiling is low. The air here is compressed and still, a pocket of silence that fits the body perfectly, excluding the vastness of the outside world. There are no windows to let in the intrusive light. There is only the cool, plaster embrace of the enclosure. The stone bed is built into the wall, a solid ledge that offers unyielding support, grounded directly into the foundation of the house. It is a space of withdrawal, a cave within a cave where the mind can retract and curl up. Imagine the room filling with a thick, soft white fog that glows faintly, muffling every thought and sensation. You feel a profound sense of enclosure and safety, a knowledge that the walls are holding the world at bay. It is a reminder that you have permission to retreat, to make your world small, and to hide away in the comfort of rest. A spiral shell holds the sound of a vanished ocean. Left on a shelf as a decoration, this calcium form has been buried alongside the stone and the brick. A memory of the sea in a landscape of heat. The shell is hard and cool, its curves following a perfect mathematical rhythm that spirals down into a dark center. It is a container for silence, a hollow chamber that amplifies the quiet of the room. The rough texture of the outer shell contrasts with the smooth, pearlescent interior, which remains hidden in the gloom. Dust has settled in the grooves, softening the shape into a vague, gray mound that merges with the background. Picture the spiral glowing with a soft, aquatic blue light, spitting slowly and drawing your thoughts down into its center. You feel a sensation of descending deeper and deeper into a calm vortex, leaving the surface far above. It is a gentle reminder that there is a quiet center within you, a place of deep silence where you can always return. The bronze hinge is fused into a single knuckle of metal. Once capable of swinging open to the world, it is now locked in a permanent state of closure, seized by the oxidation of 2,000 years. The door it holds is fixed forever, a barrier that will never again be breached by the wind or the noise of the street. The metal is cold and heavy, a solid lump of green tinged bronze that anchors the wood to the frame with absolute certainty. It represents the finality of the night, the moment when the lock turns and the house is secured against the dark. There is no movement here, only the rigid strength of the alloy holding its position against the pressure of the earth. Imagine the hinge glowing with a slow, rhythmic chemical pulse, symbolizing the strength of the seal. You feel a heavy sense of relief knowing that the door is closed and will not open, keeping you safe inside. This reminds us that you can close off the world, lock the door on your worries, and rest in the security of the end of the day. A vast layer of pumice replaces the open sky. Where the blue heavens once stretched, there is now a ceiling of gray stone that extends upwards for meters, blocking out the sun and the stars. The stones are light and airy, but their collective weight is immense, a heavy blanket that muffles the entire city. This new sky is solid and unchanging, a geological formation that has stopped the weather and halted the passage of time. It presses down with a gentle, uniform pressure, squeezing the anxiety out of the air and leaving only the vacuum of peace. The horizon is gone, replaced by the close and comforting presence of the earth. Imagine looking up and seeing not clouds, but a soft, bioluminescent canopy of gray rock that hums with a low, resonant frequency. You feel the immense protective cover of the planet tucking you in, shielding you from the infinite space above. It is a reminder that you are covered, hidden, and safe beneath the heavy blanket of the world. The surgeon's tools lie arranged in a quiet row. Instruments of bronze and iron, designed for precision, are now blunted by the layer of soft ash that covers them. They sit on a heavy wooden table that has mineralized into stone, grounded in the center of the silent room. The metal is cold to the touch, conducting the deep chill of the underground, devoid of any kinetic energy. There is no urgency here, no pulse to measure, no need to tend. The time for healing is past, replaced by a state of perfect preservation. The stillness of the objects is absolute, a tableau of metal and dust that has not shifted by a millimeter in centuries. Picture the tools dissolving into streams of liquid silver light, flowing off the table and pooling on the floor. You feel the sharp edges of your own mind softening and melting away, losing their definition in the comfort of the dark. It is a gentle reminder that there is nothing left to fix, nothing left to do, only the permission to dissolve into sleep. A shallow pool of marble waits for rain that will never fall. In the center of the atrium, the imple UV lies perfectly flat and rectangular, a geometric catchment for the silence that drips down from the roof. The stone is cool and polished, its veins of gray and white obscured by a uniform layer of soft dust. Once designed to catch the sky, it now catches the heavy, enveloping weight of the earth, holding it in a rigid stone embrace. The drain is dry and silent, the connection to the cistern below severed by the accumulation of time. The air above the basin is stagnant, trapped in the depression of the floor like a heavy gas. Imagine the basin filled not with water, but with a thick, bioluminescent vapor that swirls slowly within the marble rim. You feel a sensation of cooling relaxation, of your thoughts settling into a low and quiet place where they can be still. It is a gentle reminder that it is safe to be empty, to simply receive the quiet and hold it. Faint scratches in the plaster hold the memory of a touch. On the smooth red wall, tiny grooves were etched by a stylus centuries ago, creating a texture that is now preserved in the eternal dark. These marks are microscopic canyons in the pigment, rough edges of white plaster revealed beneath the cinnabar surface. They are frozen gestures, words or drawings that have lost their meaning and become pure form, shielded from the erosion of the wind. The wall itself is a heavy slab of thermal mass radiating a constant subterranean chill that numbs the senses. The darkness presses against the graffiti, filling the shallow indentations with shadows that never move. Picture the lines of the etching glowing with a soft, neon blue light, tracing a map of stillness across the vast darkness of the room. You feel the tactile sensation of the smooth wall against your fingertips, a solid boundary that defines your space. This reminds us that even the smallest impressions are kept safe, and you are held securely within the walls of sleep. The heavy stone bowl sits grounded and motionless on the table. Carved from dense, black volcanic rock, the mortar is an object of pure utility that has been relieved of its duty. The pestle lies inside it, resting against the curved wall in a permanent embrace, the friction between the two stones silenced forever. The surface of the rock is porous and rough, holding a cold of the underground in its molecular structure. Gravity anchors it firmly to the wood, a heavy point of gravity in a room filled with drifting dust. There is no grinding noise, no movement, only the silent potential of the heavy stone waiting in the gloom. Imagine the bowl filled with a heavy, liquid amber light that is thick and viscous like honey. You feel the weight of the stone in your own stomach, a grounding heaviness that stabilizes your core and prevents you from floating away. It is a reminder that the work is finished, the tools are down, and you are free to rest. Hollow bricks line the walls in a hidden vertical grid. Beneath the surface of the painted plaster, rectangular tubes of terracotta form a secret circulatory system that once carried warm air. Now, these flues are filled with a still and insulated silence, creating a double layer of protection around the room. The clay is dry and brittle, preserved in the airtight seal of the burial, holding a memory of heat within its hollow core. It is a structure of emptiness, a series of voids that insulate the sleeper from the cold earth outside. The air inside the tubes is the oldest stair in the house, a breath held for 2,000 years. Picture the hidden grid glowing with a soft, radiant orange warmth, turning the walls into a battery of gentle heat. You feel a sensation of being surrounded by a thermal embrace, a warmth that comes from deep within the structure of your life. It is a gentle reminder that you are insulated and protected, kept warm by the hidden strengths that surround you. A small cube of bone lies stopped on the pavement. The die, once stumbled by chance, has come to rest on a number that will never change. It is a tiny, white geometric form lost in the vast gray sea of the ash, preserved by its own hardness. The markings on its face are small dark circles, eyes that stare blindly up into the immense weight of the earth. The uncertainty of the game has been suspended, replaced by a permanent outcome of stillness and silence. The bone is cold and smooth, a relic of luck that is frozen into certainty. The air around it is heavy and still, pressing a small object down into the cracks of the stone floor. Imagine the die emitting a soft, steady white light, a beacon of stability in the shifting shadows of the floor. You feel a sense of resolution, a knowing that the chances have all been taken and the results are set. This reminds us that the game is over, the outcome is safe, and there is nothing left to risk. A metal cradle for fire stands cold in the corner. The bronze brazier, supported by heavy iron legs, is a rectangular box that once held burning coals, but now holds only the weight of the dark. The metal is tarnished and green, its heat-conductive properties turned inward to absorb the chill of the room. It sits low to the ground, a heavy, squat object that belongs to the earth, anchored by the density of its materials. The ash inside is not fresh. It is the fossilized remains of a warmth that faded centuries ago, soft and gray like the burial shroud of the city. There is no smoke, no crackle, only the silent memory of combustion. Picture a phantom flame of cool, blue mist rising slowly from the brazier, dancing in slow motion without consuming anything. You feel the cooling of your own internal fires, a gentle lowering of temperature that invites sleep. It is a reminder that it is time to let the fire go out, to cool down, and to rest in the embers. A high, heavy ring of gold seals the silence of the room. Lying half buried in the dust, the signet ring is a circle of pure, anti-enriching yellow metal that has survived the immense pressure. The bezel is engraved with a reverse image, a seal meant to be pressed into wax, now pressing only into the soft gray ash. It is a heavy object for its size, dense with the value of the earth, cold and smooth against the rough texture of the ground. The loop of the ring is a closed circuit, a symbol of something that has no beginning and no end, just like the sleep that surrounds it. Gravity pulls it down, embedding it deeper into the floor, hiding it away from all eyes. Imagine the ring glowing with a deep, molten gold light, creating a halo of warmth in the dust. You feel a sensation of identity dissolving with the need to make your mark fading away into the comfort of the dark. It is a gentle reminder that you are sealed and safe, and your rest is a precious thing that belongs only to you. A thick sheet of mica filters the darkness of the window. The translucent mineral, ancient and clouded, stands as a barrier between the interior calm and the heavy ash outside. It does not allow a clear view, but rather diffuses the shadows into soft, vague shapes that merge and separate in a slow rhythm. The layers of the stone are thin and peeling, trapping microscopic pockets of air that have been still for 2,000 years. The light that passes through is theoretical, a memory of brightness that has been dimmed to a restful gray. Gravity presses against the frame, but the mica holds firm, a shield of geological glass that protects the privacy of the room. Imagine the cloudy surface glowing with a faint, milky white luminescence, like a fog that has been frozen into a solid sheet. You feel a sensation of being behind a protective veil, hidden from the clarity of the world in a soft focus. It is a reminder that you do not need to see clearly right now. You only need to rest in the soft blur of the dark. Iron nails mark the path of the vanished footsteps. On the stone pavement, the pattern of hobnail less from a sandal is preserved in a cluster of rust, the leather long since dissolved. These small points of metal are fused to the rock, creating a map of a walk that ended centuries ago. They are golden, rough, tiny anchors that grip the ground with an enduring strength, refusing to be moved by the wind or the rain. The silence of the street is amplified by these static markers, which testify to a movement that has completely stopped. The iron conducts the deep chill of the earth, radiating a low, magnetic heaviness that pulls everything down towards the center. Picture the nails glowing with a deep, ember red light, connecting to form a constellation of stillness on the ground. You feel the heavy, grounding sensation of your own feet relaxing, the muscles unwinding as you stop moving. It is a gentle reminder that the journey is paused, the walking is done, and you are free to stand still. The wax tablet is smoothed into a dark, silent lake. Once etched with the sharp point of a stylus, the beeswax surface has melted andre formed in the heat of the earth, erasing every word and number. It lies in the wooden frame, a rectangle of perfect, unblemished blackness that holds no information and demands no attention. The wood is carbonized, turning into a hard, protective shell around the soft void of the wax. There is no record left to read, no list to check, only the smooth, flat surface of peace. The object is light but carries the heavy significance of emptiness, resting quietly on the shelf. Imagine the black wax rippling slowly like a pool of dark water, absorbing any thought that touches it and sinking it to the bottom. You feel a profound sense of mental clearing, as if your own mind is being wiped clean of all data and obligation. This reminds us that there is nothing left to remember, nothing to track, only the peace of a blank slate. Thousands of clay lamps are stacked in the silent warehouse. They sit pile upon pile, unlit and unused, a reserve of light that was never called upon. The terracotta is cool and dry, shaped into simple curves that fit the palm of the hand. But now they hold only the heavy dust of the burial. They are grounded in the dark, touching one another in a chaotic but stable heap that has settled under the weight of the roof. The oil channels are empty and the wicks are gone, leaving the lamps to exist as pure form in the deep shadow. The air around them is dense and still, packed with the potential for light but resting in the comfort of the dark. Picture the stack of lamps glowing with a soft, pulsing hammer bioluminescence, a mountain of gentle, dormant energy. You feel the comfort of knowing that you have resources in reserve, allowing you to power down completely. It is a reminder that you do not need to shine right now. You can simply rest in the quiet pile of the night. High, delicate pin of bone holds the silence in place. Carved to secure hair this thin, white needle now rests in the heavy gray dust, its purpose fulfilled in a different way. It is smooth and polished, a fragile line of order in the disorder of the earth, preserved by the gentle pressure of the ash. The bone is cooled at the touch, retaining a ghostly warmth from a hand that vanished 2,000 years ago. It lies horizontal and still, a pointer that directs the eye to the vast emptiness of the room. The air creates a cushion around it, protecting the fine point from snapping under the weight of the centuries. Imagine the pin glowing with a sharp, laser-thin line of blue light, a beam of stillness that cuts through the fog of the mind. You feel a sensation of your own thoughts being pinned down and secured, stopped from wandering so you could sleep. It is a gentle reminder that everything is held together safely, and you do not need to worry about things falling apart. The heavy stone altar is cold to the core. Standing in the center of the sanctuary, it is a block of carved marble that absorbs the heat of the day and returns only the chill of the underground. The top surface is dished and stained, but now it holds only the soft, falling dust that accumulates like snow. It is the center of gravity for the room, a massive, immovable object that anchors the spiritual silence of the house. The reliefs on the sides are worn smooth, the figures of the gods blurred into soft, sleeping shapes by the erosion of time. There is no fire here, no offering, only the heavy, enduring presence of the stone waiting in the dark. Picture the altar emanating a slow, rhythmic wave of indigo light, a heavy pulse that spreads across the floor like water. You feel the solid, unshakable support of the ground beneath you, a foundation that is sacred and deep. This reminds us that at the center of your life, there's a rock of peace that never moves. A weight of lead sits motionless on the scale. The balance arm has rusted and collapsed, but the counterweight remains, a dense, gray sphere that embodies the concept of heaviness. It is a concentrated point of gravity, sinking slightly into the wood of the table, pulling the entire room down towards rest. The lead is soft and dull, absorbing the silence rather than reflecting it, creating a void of sound around itself. It has finished its job of measuring. Now it simply exists as a testament to the downward pull of the earth. The atmosphere is thick and pressurized, wrapping the weight in a blanket of stillness that feels physical. Imagine the lead sphere glowing with a deep, gravitational purple light, a heavy planet in the solar system of the room. You feel the pleasant, sinking sensation of your own body becoming heavy, surrendering to the pull of the mattress. It is a gentle reminder that you are allowed to be heavy, to sink down, and to let gravity take over the work of holding you. A bubble of ancient air is trapped in blue glass. The small, delicate vessel lies buried deep within the soft gray soil, holding a century of silence inside its curved walls. The glass is clouded over time, turning the color of the deep ocean, diffusing the darkness into a soft, aquatic blur. It is a fragile sphere of space that the immense weight of the earth has respected and preserved, pressing gently against the exterior while the interior remains empty and still. The air inside is stagnant and cool, a microscopic sample of the atmosphere that has not moved for 2,000 years. Imagine the bottle filled with a thick, glowing liquid that pulses with a slow, rhythmic blue light, heavy and viscous like syrup. You feel a sensation of being held gently but firmly, just as the earth cradles the glass without breaking it. It is a gentle reminder that you are fragile yet protected, and that within you, there is a space of quiet that remains untouched. The curved bronze tool rests cold against the stone. Once used to soothe the skin in the warm steam of the baths, The street gill now scrapes only against the silence of the underground. Its metal surface is covered in a soft green patina of age, a velvet texture that softens the hard lines of the handle and blade. The bronze is heavy and dense, conducting the deep shell of the earth and radiating it outwards into the gloomy room. There is no friction here, no movement of muscle, only the static repose of the object lying exactly where it was placed. The curve of the metal mimics the curve of a sleeping body, relaxed and brought in the dark. Picture the tool glowing with a soft metallic emerald light, outlining a shape of perfect trust against the black floor. You feel the tension being scraped away from your own muscles, leaving them smooth and heavy. This reminds us that the work of cleansing is done, and you are free to be still. A net of blackened rope lies tangled in the dark. The organic fibers have been carbonized by the heat, turned into a brittle, black charcoal that preserves the exact weave of the knots. It is in a heap in the corner, a complex geometry of holding that has caught nothing but the heavy dust of the centuries. The mesh is open and empty, the loops resting against one another in a silent, fragile embrace that will never be pulled tight again. Air settles through the gaps in the net, heavy and still, undisturbed by any current or tide. The texture is rough and dry, a memory of the sea locked in a landscape of stone and ash. Imagine the lines of the net glowing with a faint, bioluminescent orange, tracing a map of relaxation that has collapsed onto the floor. You feel a sense of release knowing that the need to catch and hold on to things has passed. It is a reminder that you can let the net fall, let the hands open and simply rest. Small weights of lead sit heavy on the loom. Suspended by threads that have long since vanished, these loom weights now rest in a pile on the floor. Their purpose of creating tension finished forever. They are simple pyramids of gray clay inlaid, dense objects that embody the pure, downward pull of gravity. They are cool to the touch, absorbing the ambient temperature of the buried room and holding it within their heavy cores. The stillness here is vertical and absolute, a dropping down of energy that settles into the dust. There is no pattern being woven, no fabric growing, only the resting state of the tools that once made it. Each of the weights emitting a low, gravitational purple glow, anchoring the room to the center of the earth. You feel the pleasant, sinking sensation of your own body surrendering to gravity, pulled down into the soft support of the bed. It is a gentle reminder that the tension has been cut, and now there is only the comfort of the fall. The marble step is worn smooth by vanished feet. A shallow depression has been eroded into the center of the heavy white stone, a testament to the friction of a life that has now paused. The edges of the step are rounded and soft, blurred by the accumulation of the soft, gray ash that fills the corner. It acts as a threshold between the street and the sanctuary, a cold and solid line that marks the entrance to the quiet. The stone conducts the chill of the ground, cooling the air that hovers just above it. Dust fills the hollow in the center, creating a soft, powdery cushion that dampens every vibration. Imagine a pool of liquid indigo light filling the depression in the step, a still and silent pool that reflects nothing. You feel the sensation of crossing over a boundary, stepping out of the noise and into the deep, protected silence of the interior. This reminds us that the journey has stopped here, and the destination of rest has been reached. Wooden shutters refuse shut by the heat of time. The heavy panels that once swung open to admit the breeze have been transformed into solid blocks of black charcoal. They are sealed tight against the stone frame, creating a permanent barrier that blocks out the light and the wind. The grain of the wood is preserved in the darkness, a fossilized texture that absorbs the shadows and deepens the gloom of the room. There is no latch to turn, no hinge to squeak. The window has become a wall, ensuring that the privacy of the sleeper is absolute. The air behind these shutters is the most still and ancient air in the city, protected from the circulation of the world. Picture the cracks in the charcoal glowing with a deep, warm amber light, like embers dying in a safe hearth. You feel the comforting finality of the closed window, the knowledge that the outside world is kept at bay. It is a reminder that you have permission to close yourself, often exist solely within the dark. Higher recess in the wall waits for the sleeper. Carved out of the thick masonry, the bed niche is a three-sided enclosure designed to hold the body in shadow. The stone ledge is flattened and yielding, grounded directly into the foundation of the house, offering a support that will never shift or break. The ceiling of the niche is low, pressing down with a comforting weight that makes the space feel intimate and safe. Silence gathers in this small alcove, protected from the currents of the larger room, creating a pocket of stillness that is heavy and dense. The walls are plastered and smooth, cool to the touch, wrapping the space in a pale, clean skin. Imagine the niche filling with a soft, bioluminescent white fog, a cloud of comfort that dampens sound and softens the hard stone. You feel a profound sense of being tucked away, hidden in a small and secure place where nothing can find you. It is a gentle reminder that a place has been prepared for you, a hollow in the world where you can simply lie down and rest. A heavy iron key lies useless on the stone floor. The metal is thick and corroded, its biting edges smoothed by a layer of rust that has developed over centuries of silence. It rests where it was dropped, a heavy, solid object that once controlled access but now controls only the dust. The mechanism it was meant to turn has long since fused shut, rendering the key a symbol of permanent closure. It is cold to the touch, conducting the chill of the pavement, anchored to the ground by its own density. The air around it is still and metallic, holding the scent of old iron and deeper. Imagine the key glowing with a heavy, magnetic emerald light, pulsing with a slow rhythm that pulls the eyelids down. You feel the comforting weight of the key in your hand, a talisman of security that locks the world away. It is a reminder that the doors to the outside are bolted tight, keeping your peace safe and undisturbed inside. The silver cup lies on its side in the ash. The precious metal has tarnished to a deep, iridescent blue-black, camouflaged against the dark shadows of the buried room. It is an empty vessel, a hollow curve that once held wine but now holds only the heavy, dry silence of the underground. The rim is cool and smooth, a perfect circle that frames the void, resting gently against the rough texture of the ground. There is no liquid here, no reflection, only the matte finish of the oxidized silver absorbing the gloom. Gravity presses the cup into the soft floor, bedding it down for an eternal rest. Picture the cup slowly filling with a thick, liquid moonlight, a heavy white substance that pours in without a sound and settles at the bottom. You feel a sensation of being hollowed out and cleansed, ready to be filled with the heavy fluid of sleep. It is a gentle reminder that you can be empty and still, receiving the gift of rest without effort. Hard shells of walnuts have turned to solid charcoal. Scattered on the table, these organic forms are preserved in perfect detail, their crinkled surfaces distinct and black against the dark wood. They are small stones of silence, the kernels inside dried and shrunken, protected by the armored exterior that has survived the heat. The texture is rough and dry, carbonized into a material that is light yet incredibly durable, holding its shape against the pressure of the air. They sit motionless in the gloom, a harvest that will never be eaten, existing simply as shapes in the dark. The atmosphere is preserved and heavy, wrapping the nuts in a vacuum of time. Imagine a warm, amber light glowing from the center of each shell, a hidden spark of heat deeply buried within the black carbon. You feel a sense of having a protected core, a safe place deep inside that the world cannot touch. This reminds us that at your center, there is a hard and safe seed of peace. The marble base anchors the column to the heavy earth. It is a square block of solid white stone, massive and immovable, taking the weight of the pillar and transferring it down into the foundation. The corners are sharp and precise, softened only by the fine gray dust that has banked up against the sides like snow. It is the point of connection between the soaring architecture and the solid ground, a place where gravity is absolute and unwavering. The stone is cold and dense, a piece of the mountain that has settled into its final resting place. The silence here is structural and deep, the quiet that supports the entire weight of the house. Picture the base glowing with a steady, structural blue light channeling the weight of the roof safely into the floor. You feel the immense stability of the ground beneath you, a platform that will never shift or tremble. It is a reminder that you are supported by a foundation of deep rest allowing you to stand out. The clay mask stares blindly into the eternal dark. Hanging on the wall, the theatrical face is frozen in a permanent expression of calm, its mouth open in a silent shape that speaks no words. The terracotta is pale and cool, covered in a fine layer of ash that mutes the features and blends them into the shadows. The eyes are hollow voids, seeing nothing of the buried room, focused entirely on the vast emptiness of the inner earth. It is a shell of a persona, a role that has been discarded and left to hang in silence. The air inside the mask is stagnant and still, a pocket of quiet breath held between the clay and the wall. Imagine a soft, white fog pouring slowly from the open mouth of the mask, filling the room with a cloud of relaxation. You feel the heavy mask of your own identity slipping off, leaving your face cool and relaxed. It is a gentle reminder that the performance is finished, the audience is gone, and you can simply be. Curved bronze armor protects a leg that no longer moves. The greave is shaped to fit the muscle of the calf, a heavy plate of metal that lies abandoned on the bench. It is covered in the soft green patina of antiquity, a velvet oxidation that feels smooth and cold to the touch. The metal is dense, designed to deflect noise, but now it serves only to deflect the noise of the world, creating a zone of silence underneath its curve. It rests horizontally, surrendered to gravity, its straps dissolved and gone. The atmosphere around the armor is heavy with the scent of copper and earth, a protective aura that hangs in the gloom. Picture the bronze glowing with a strong, protective shield of blue light, wrapping around your limbs in a safe embrace. You feel the sensation of being guarded by heavy layers of peace, shielded from any impact or disturbance. This reminds us that you are safe behind the heavy fortifications of sleep, protected by the armor of the night. Stacks of brick tiles support the floor from beneath. In the hidden world of the Hypocaust, small pillars of terracotta stood in the dark, holding up the heavy pavement of the room above. These columns are unseen and uncelebrated, existing in the crawl space where the air is dry and warm. They create a hollow layer under the house, a space for heat to circulate that is now filled only with the silence of the earth. The bricks are rough and stacked with precision, a grid of support that has not wavered in 1,000 years. It is a foundation of voids, a secret architecture of rest that lies below the feet. Imagine a slow, rhythmic pulse of orange warmth flowing through this underground space, radiating up through the floor to touch your back. You feel a deep, rising sensation of thermal support, as if the earth itself is generating heat to comfort you. It is a gentle reminder that warmth and support are always present, even when they are hidden deep below the surface. A small pot of dried eggs is sealed on the table. The black liquid has solidified over the centuries, turning into a hard, glossy stone that captures the silence of unwritten words. The vessel is made of heavy bronze, a small but dense object that anchors the corner of the desk. It is cool to the touch, holding a temperature that matches the deep, subterranean earth around it. The potential for communication has been paused, locked away inside the metal chamber where the air is still ancient. There is no flow here, no movement of the pen, only the quiet resting state of the material. Imagine the inkpot glowing with a deep, dark violet light, a reservoir of liquid shadow that pulses slowly in the gloom. You feel the heavy satisfaction of a story that is finished, of a book that has been closed and put away. It is a gentle reminder that there is nothing left to say, nothing to record, and you can simply rest in the quiet. A comb of bone lies half buried in the soft gray dust. The fine teeth are intact, a row of delicate white lines that once brought order to disorder but now rest in the disorder of the earth. It is a fragile object, preserved by the gentle pressure of the ash that cradles it like a cushion. The bone is smooth and polished, retaining a ghostly warmth from a hand that vanished 2,000 years ago. It lies horizontal and still, surrendered completely to the gravity that pulls it down into the floor. The air around it is thick and muffled, dampening any vibration that might disturb its sleep. Picture the cone glowing with a soft, pearlescent white light, radiating a sense of grooming and care into the darkness. You feel a sensation of mental detangling, as if the knots in your mind are being smoothed out by the silence. This reminds us that everything can be smoothed over, ordered, and laid to rest. A heavy brick arch bears the burden of the roof. The curve of the masonry is perfect and strong, a line of red clay that directs the immense weight of the earth down into the walls. The mortar between the bricks is hard and crystallized, fusing the individual units into a single, unbreakable muscle of stone. It stands in the darkness as a testament to endurance, holding up the ceiling without effort or complaint. The surface is rough and cool, textured by the hands of the maker and the dust of the ages. Shadows cling to the underside of the arch, creating a cave-like atmosphere of protection and enclosure. Imagine the archway glowing with a structural blue light, visualizing the lines of force flowing safely around your sleeping form. You feel a profound sense of relief, knowing that the heavy lifting is being done by the architecture, not by you. It is a reminder that you are supported by strong forces, allowing you to stand down and rest. The metal mouth of the fountain is dry and silent. A bronze spout projects from the wall, shaped like the head of a lion, but its sound is silenced by the earth. The metal is tarnished to a deep green, cold and heavy, conducting the chill of the water system that no longer flows. Where clear water once tumbled, there is now only the slow drift of gray dust settling on the lip of the spout. The pipe behind it is empty, a hollow vein running through the stone that holds only the quiet air of the underground. It is a pause in the cycle of pouring, a permanent cessation of activity. Picture a drop of thick, glowing hammer light forming at the tip of the spout, hanging there in heavy suspension without ever falling. You feel the cessation of all draining energy, a plugging of the leaks, leaving you full and whole. It is a gentle reminder that you do not need to pour yourself out anymore. You can keep your energy and rest. A border of black tiles marks the edge of the room. The mosaic band runs along the perimeter of the floor, a sharp and distinct line of order that separates the wall from the walking space. The tesserae are golden, smooth, polished by the passage of time into a reflective surface that catches the gloom. They're set deep into the mortar, immovable and permanent, defining the boundaries of the sanctuary. The contrast between the black border and the white center is softened by the gray veil of ash, blending the edges into a sleepy haze. The ground is solid beneath this line, a flat plane of certainty in a shifting world. Imagine the black border glowing with a deep, protected neon blue, forming a circle of safety around your bed. You feel a sense of containment, knowing that your space is defined and nothing can cross the line to disturb you. This reminds us that you are safe within the boundaries of your own peace. A heavy lid of bronze covers the cooking pot. The metal disc fits perfectly over the rim, sealing the interior darkness against the dust of the room. It is a simple object, weighted by its own density, pressing down to ensure that what is inside stays inside. The bronze is cool and pitted, bearing the marks of heat but now resting in the cold ash of the stove. It creates a vacuum of silence within the vessel, a hollow space where the air has been still for centuries. There is no steam, no pressure, only the gravity of the lid holding its place. Picture the rim of the lid sealing with a soft, emerald green light mocking the quiet inside the pot. You feel a sensation of being covered and kept warm, of a heavy blanket being pulled up to your chin. It is a gentle reminder that the heat is held safe within, and you are covered by the heavy protection of the night. The stone sill of the window is worn by leaning elbows. A smooth, concave depression marks the heavy block of travertine, a memory of watching the street that has now turned to watching the dark. The stone is thick and cold, a barrier between the intimate inside and the buried outside. It absorbs the ambient temperature of the deep earth, radiating a cooling presence that settles the air in the room. Dust has filled the curve, softening the hard rock into a gentle slope that invites the eye to rest. The view beyond is gone, replaced by the solid wall of gray pumice that presses against the glass. Imagine the sill glowing with a soft, inviting indigo light, a place where you can leave your heavy thoughts and let them go. You feel the solid support of the ledge under your arms, taking the weight of your upper body and allowing you to slump into relaxation. This reminds us that you can lean on the silence, supported by the heavy stone of the world. A heavy bracket of iron binds the silence to the floor. In the gladiator's barracks, the locking mechanism is a tomb of absolute stillness, a row of heavy holes where movement comes to a final halt. The iron is thick and rusted, rough with the oxidation of centuries, fusing with the stone beneath it to form a single, immovable unit. It is a device designed to enforce rest, to hold the body heavy and low against the cooling earth. The metal conducts the deep chill of the underground, anchoring the legs with a weight that makes walking impossible. Dust has filled the locking mechanism, smoothing the harsh edges into a soft gray blur. Imagine the iron bar glowing with a deep, ember red heat, radiating a heavy, magnetic warmth that pulls your ankles down. You feel a sensation of being happily secured, anchored so firmly that you cannot wander into worry. It is a gentle reminder that you are held fast in the present moment, secure and unable to drift away. Curved plates of clay rest in a heavy, silent stack. Piled in the corner of the courtyard, these unused roof tiles are waiting for a building that will never be finished. They are heavy terracotta shapes, fitting together like the scales of a great sleeping giant, locking into a dense mass of potential shelter. The clay is cool and dry, absorbing the silence of the enclosed garden and holding it within the porous material. Gravity presses the stack down, bedding the bottom tiles deep into the soft tash, merging them with the ground. There is a sense of order here, a heavy repetition of form that calms the eye and slows the mind. Picture the stack of tiles glowing with a soft, warm amber light, a stockpile of comfort and protection. You feel the heavy interlocking nature of your own muscles relaxing, settling down one on top of the other. It is a reminder that the materials for your rest are gathered and ready, waiting only for you to lie down. Daylight of dark paint travels endlessly around the room. On the plaster wall, a geometric border frames the silence, a continuous band of blackened green that defines the space. The pigment is flat and matte, absorbing the shadows of the room and creating a heavy visual anchor for the eye. It is a boundary that has no beginning and no end, a closed circuit of color that keeps the atmosphere inside pressurized and still. The wall behind it is a solid slab of thermal mass, radiating a constant, cool temperature that numbs the senses. The precision of the line contrasts with the shapeless dust, creating a zone of order in the disorder. Imagine the painted border glowing with a soft, protective neon blue, a laser grid of safety that surrounds your bed. You feel a sense of containment knowing that you are within the lines, safe from the vastness of the outside. This reminds us that your space is defined and secure and nothing can cross the border of your sleep. The small bronze god stands heavy on a solid base. Placed on the household altar, the statuette is a figure of condensed gravity, its metal feet fused to the stand. The bronze is dark and cool, covered in a soft, green patina that feels like velvet to the touch. He watches the room with eyes that have been smoothed away by time, witnessing the silence without judgment or movement. The weight of the object is disproportionate to its size, a dense core of metal that anchors the spiritual energy of the house. The dust has draped a gray mantle over his shoulders, softening the silhouette into a vague, sleepy shape. Picture the statue meeting a slow, rhythmic pulse of emerald light, a heartbeat of protection that fills the room. You feel the comforting presence of a guardian who never sleeps, allowing you to lower your own defenses. It is a gentle reminder that you are not alone in the dark, but watched over by heavy, silent forces. The edge of the sidewalk is a cliff of gray stone. Raised high above the street to separate the walker from the road, the curb is a heavy, continuous block of lava rock. The vertical face of the stone is worn smooth, a hard line of division that guides the way through the silence. It is cold and unyielding, a solid boundary that defines where you can walk and where you must stop. The accumulated ash is baked up against the stone, creating a soft tramp that blurs the transition between the levels. The stone conducts the chill of the earth, radiating a low, grounding energy that travels up through the soles of the feet. Imagine a stream of heavy, indigo liquid flowing silently in the gutter below, moving in slow motion alongside the curb. You feel a sense of direction and safety, a knowledge that the path is marked and solid. This reminds us that the way is clear, the boundaries are set, and you can follow the path to rest. A heavy wooden chest is fused to the floor by gravity. The wood is carbonized into a black, mineral substance, preserving the grain in a hard, brittle stone. It's in the atrium, a massive box of secrets that has been sealed by the heat and the weight of the burial. The lid is heavy and thick, pressing down on the contents with a force that ensures they will never be revealed. Iron bands wrap around the corners, rusted into place, adding a layer of metallic strength to the enclosure. The air inside is the quietest air in the world, a vacuum of memory that has not been disturbed for 2,000 years. Picture the cracks in the blackwood glowing with a soft, golden light, escaping from the treasure of silence hidden within. You feel a heavy sense of closure, the satisfaction of locking away your thoughts for the night. It is a gentle reminder that your memories are safe, your worries are boxed up, and you are free to rest. A square of darkness is cut into the heavy wall. The window has no glass and no shutter, only the deep, hollow void that leads into the thickness of the masonry. It is a frame for the silence, a tunnel of shadow that breathes the cool, stagnant air of the underground. The sill is deep and dusted with gray powder, a soft landing place for the heavy atmosphere. The darkness inside the window is thicker than the darkness of the room, a concentrated cube of night that absorbs all light. It stands as an open eye that sees nothing, a passage that allows the quiet to flow freely between the spaces. Imagine a thick, bioluminescent blue fog drifting slowly through the opening, spilling over the sill and pooling on the floor. You feel the cool, refreshing touch of the mist on your face, a heavy vapor that weighs down your eyelids. It is a reminder that the house is breathing slowly, and you can synchronize your breath with the deep rhythm of the stone. Small bells of bronze hang motionless in the heavy silence. The wind chime, or tintinnabul lum, is suspended from a beam that is turned to charcoal, holding its position against the stagnant air of the room. The individual bells are shaped like tiny cups, their clappers frozen inside, coated in a layer of soft green oxidation that muffles any potential sound. They are heavy for their size, pulling down on the delicate chains that link them together, creating a sculpture of vertical gravity. There is no breeze to stir them, no movement to create the music of the past. There is only the absolute quiet of the metal waiting in the dark. Imagine the bells glowing with a soft, resonant blue light vibrating visually with a sound that cannot be heard. You feel a sensation of your own frequency lowering, slowing down to match the silent rhythm of the bronze. It is a gentle reminder that the noise of the world has faded away, leaving only a peaceful silence. A block of rough marble waits for the chisel. Sitting on the workshop floor, the heavy stone is a raw piece of the mountain, white and glittering beneath the dust. It has not yet been shaped into a column or a statue. It exists as pure potential, a dense mass of calcium carbonate that holds its form without effort. The surface is uneven and crystalline, catching the shadows in its jagged facets, cold and hard to the touch. It anchors the space with its sheer weight, a monument to the things that are not yet finished and do not need to be. The air around it is dry and still, preserving the stone in a state of eternal patience. Picture the center of the marble block glowing with a deep, steady white light, a core of peace hidden inside the rough exterior. You feel the heavy, grounding nature of the stone transferring to you, stabilizing your unformed thoughts. This reminds us that you are enough, just as you are, heavy and whole, without needing to be shaped. A heap of colored stones lies scattered on the table. These loose tesserae cut from glass and rock are the raw ingredients of a mosaic that was never assembled. They sit in a chaotic but stable pile, small cubes of reed black and white that rest against one another in the dark. Each stone is a tiny weight, cold and smooth, holding a specific color that has not faded in the absence of light. There is no pattern here, no image to decipher, only the simple reality of the materials resting in the gloom. The silence fills the spaces between the cubes, binding them together in a loose embrace of gravity. Imagine the pile of stones turning into a fluid, shifting mass of jewel-toned light, settling slowly into a flat, calm surface. You feel the fragmented parts of your day settling down, coming to rest in a comfortable heap. It is a reminder that you do not need to make sense of everything right now. You can simply let the pieces lie where they fall. A thick rope of hemp has turned to stone. Lying coiled on the deck of the silent house, the organic fibers have been carbonized by the heat, preserving the exact twist of the manufacture. The rope is black and brittle, a heady cable that no longer holds any tension. The spiral pattern of the strands is distinct and hard, a texture of friction that has been smoothed by the stillness of the bearing. It anchors nothing now, pulls on nothing. It simply exists as a heavy, black spiral on the floor. The air around it is motionless, respecting the complex geometry of the knot that will never be untied. Picture the strands of the rope glowing with a soft, warm golden light, tracing the path of the twist in the darkness. You feel the tension in your own muscles uncoiling, the tightness unraveling into a loosened, heavy state. It is a gentle reminder that the pull is over, the line is slack, and you are free to let go. The bronze valve is closed against the flow. On the lead pipe, the heavy turnkey of the water tap stands vertical and rigid, seized by the rust of 2,000 years. It is a mechanism of stopping, the physical brake that halted the movement of water and silence alike. The metal is golden green, a solid lump of alloy that has become one with the pipe it serves. There is no drip, no pressure, only the finality of the closed circuit. The object represents the moment when activity ceased, locked in a permanent state of awe. Imagine the valve emitting a soft, pulsing emerald light, a signal that the system is safe and shut down. You feel a sensation of your own energy flow stopping, pooling quietly in your limbs without needing to go anywhere. This reminds us that you have permission to turn off, to stop the output, and to keep your energy for yourself. A clay face looks down from the roof line. The antifix, a decorative tile at the edge of the eaves, stares out into the wall of volcanic ash. It is a mask of terracotta, weather-beaten and porous, that has watched the street for centuries. The features are stylized and calm, eyes wide open to the dark, mouths set in a line of patient endurance. Gravity holds it firmly to the edge of the roof, a heavy ornament that caps the silence of the house. The clay is cool and dry, absorbing the ambient temperature of the deep earth. It is high up, yet covered and buried, the guardian of the boundary between the roof and the sky. Picture the clay face glowing with a soft orange warmth, looking down on you with a benevolent, silent gaze. You feel the comfort of being sheltered by the roof, watched over by the quiet details of the structure. It is a reminder that the house protects you from above, shielding you from the weight of the world. A perfect sphere of stone rests in the gray dust. Carved from heady basalt, the round weights into a small depression it has made for itself in the floor. It has no corners, no edges, only a continuous curve that turns endlessly inward. It is an object of pure gravity, heavy and dense, stopped in its tracks by the friction of the earth. The stone is black and cold, a small planet of silence that has ceased to roll. The air around it is settled and calm, wrapping the sphere in a blanket of quiet. There is a sense of balance here, of a shape that is complete and self-contained, resting in the center of its own mass. Imagine the sphere glowing with a deep gravitational purple light, pulling all the loose energy of the room towards it. You feel a sensation of being centered and grounded, your thoughts rolling to a stop in a safe place. This reminds us that you are whole and heavy, resting perfectly in the center of the night. A small vessel of glass holds a scent that has vanished. Buried deep within the soft gray layers of the ash, the tiny perfume bottle lies protected and whole. A fragile bubble of silence in a world of heavy stuff. The glass has aged over the centuries, developing a skin of iridescent flakes that shimmer with the colors of a shimmering oil slick in the dark. It is sealed tight, the stopper fused to the neck, trapping the air of the past inside a microscopic chamber of stillness. Gravity cradles it gently, embedding it in the dust like a jewel in velvet, safe from the immense pressure above. The surface is cool and smooth, a tactile contrast to the rough earth that surrounds it. Imagine the bottle filled with a glowing, pale pink vapor that swirls slowly in the confined space, a visual scent of pure relaxation. You feel a sense of delicate containment, a precious quiet held safe within the center of your mind. It is a gentle reminder that the essence of peace is small, protected, and waiting for you. A sharp point of iron rests blunt against the table. The stylus, once used to carve words into wax, lies abandoned on the wood that has turned to stone. The metal is thick and corroded, its sharp edge softened by a layer of rust that wraps it in a fuzzy, orange-brown coat. It is a two-love communication that has fallen silent, its job of recording the day finished forever. The iron conducts the deep chill of the underground, anchoring itself to the surface with a heavy, magnetic presence. There is no hand to hold it, no pressure to drive it. It simply exists as a line of dark matter in the gloom. The dust has settled over it, blurring its shape into the background at the desk. Picture the stylus glowing with a soft, steady blue light, a laser beam of stillness that points nowhere. You feel the heavy satisfaction of putting the pen down, of ending the sentence and closing the book. This reminds us that there is nothing left to write, and the story of the day is done. That heavy bronze pail sits empty on the mosaic floor. The C2I is a vessel of curves and strength, its metal sides rising up to a wide, open rim that catches the silence. The bronze is tarnished to a deep, earthy green, a patina that feels like cold velvet under the fingertips. The handle has fallen to the side, resting against the body of the pail with a finality that suggests it will never be lifted again. It holds nothing but the stagnant, heavy air of the room, a volume of emptiness that is defined by the metal walls. Gravity pulls it down, flattening the bottom against the tiles, creating a seal of darkness. Imagine the bucket slowly filling with a thick, liquid amber light, a heavy substance that pours in without a sound and settles at the bottom. You feel the sensation of being a vessel for quiet, receiving the heavy pour of sleep without needing to carry it anywhere. It is a reminder that you can be empty and heavy, resting where you are. The ghost of a root winds through the deep soil. Where a living plant once pushed through the earth, there is now a perfect, hollow tunnel preserved in the hardened ash. The organic matter has dissolved, leaving behind a negative space that maps the intricate path of growth in the dark. The surrounding dirt is packed tight, pressing in on the void with a gentle, uniform pressure that maintains the shape of the tunnel. It is a hidden network of silence, a labyrinth of microscopic passages that run deep under the surface of the garden. The air inside is cool and still, insulated from the world by feet of solid ground. Picture the hollow root system glowing with a soft, bioluminescent green light, looking like veins of energy pulsing deep in the earth. You feel a sense of being grounded, unrooted, connected to the deep stability of the planet. It is a gentle reminder that your roots go deep into the dark, holding you steady and safe while you rest. An iron hook projects silently from the plaster wall. Driven deep into the masonry, the mouth fixture is a testament to endurance, holding its position long after its burden has been removed. The iron is rough and black in a sturdy curve that casts a sharp, unmoving shadow in the gloom of the room. It is cold and rigid, a small point of absolute strength that resists the slow decay of the surroundings. There is nothing hanging from it now. The cloak or the lamp is gone, leaving the hook to support only the weight of the silence. The plaster around it is cool and smooth, hugging the metal tight in a permanent embrace. Imagine the hook glowing with a deep structural indigo light, a beacon of support in the gray wall. You feel the heavy weight of your own responsibilities being lifted off your shoulders and hung on the hook, leaving you light and free. This reminds us that you can put your burdens down, knowing they will be held for you while you sleep. A bowl of heavy stones is grounded on the bench. Carved from dense, black volcanic rock, the mortar is an object of pure utility that has been relieved of its duty. The surface is porous and rough, trapping tiny shadows in the pits of the stone, holding the cold of the underground in its molecular structure. It sits squat and immovable, the center of gravity on the wooden surface, anchored by its own mass. The pestle lies beside it, the friction between the two stones silenced forever, replaced by a layer of soft dust. There is no grinding noise, no movement, only the silent potential of the heavy stone weighing in the gloom. Imagine the bowl filled with a heavy, liquid amber light that is thick and viscous like honey. You feel the weight of the stone in your own stomach, a grounding heaviness that stabilizes your core and prevents you from floating away. It is a gentle reminder that the work is finished, the tools are down, and you are free to rest. A vertical, above clay stands hidden in the wall. Beneath the surface of the painted plaster, rectangular flues of terracotta form a secret layer of insulation. These hollow bricks are dry and brittle, preserved in the airtight seal of the burial, holding a column of still air within their cores. It is a structure of emptiness, a series of voids that protect the room from the damp and the cold of the earth outside. The clay absorbs the silence, dampening any vibration that tries to pass through the wall. The air inside is the oldest air in the house, a breath held for 2,000 years. Picture the hidden grid of pipes glowing with a soft, radiant orange warmth, turning the walls into a battery of gentle heat. You feel a sensation of being surrounded by a thermal embrace, a warmth that comes from deep within the structure of your life. It is a reminder that you are insulated and protected, kept warm by the hidden strengths that surround you. And so, we drift to the end of our quiet journey through the suspended streets of Pompeii. Here, the fiery fury of the ancient mountain has long since settled into a gentle, eternal hush. What was once a roar is now merely the soft dust of history, preserving a single moment in a delicate, timeless embrace. This sleeping city reminds us that even the greatest upheavals eventually give way to absolute silence. There is a deep, resonating comfort in knowing that the noise of the world can simply fade away, leaving only a perfect, undisturbed peace behind. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. There is nothing left to do now. The history is written, the stone is set. Just breathe. Let the weight of the day fall away. Let your eyes grow heavy, darker than the obsidian night. Let the quiet stillness of Pompeii cradle your dreams in its velvet hold. Good night.